Ladies and gentlemen, I take pride in introducing the greatest show on earth.
Hi, everybody. I'm Scott Gordon, and welcome to the Uncle Floyd podcast, number 75. Right now, it's 2:05 in the afternoon on Friday, May 29th, 2026, and I'm sitting in my studio getting ready to answer your questions that you emailed to me. And if you want to get a question in for next week, just email it to ufpodcast@sge-inc.com. That's ufpodcast@sge-inc.com. Okay, we're going to get right to this as soon as we listen to the end of the Uncle Floyd Show theme with Uncle Floyd on the piano and the Vivino Brothers Band. All right, today we're going to answer a bunch of questions, and we're also going to have some comedy from Uncle Floyd on the radio. I was the engineer. I was his engineer on radio since like 1988. I think we started doing radio. And it all came out of this studio where I'm sitting right now. So we're going to get to that in a few minutes, get to some comedy sketches from that. But now we're going to start to answer questions. And later on, going to have Uncle Floyd at the piano playing a song you don't really hear him play that much. I'll get to that later. From Philip Scardilli Jr. Hi, Scott. Kenny Vance and the Planetones sang live on the show. David Foreman, a.k.a., also known as Little Isidore, played the piano. Did acts like that get booked to appear, just walk on, or ask to be on? All of the above. Some people we asked to come on. You know, we'd go out to nightclubs, we'd go out to see shows ourselves, and we'd see somebody perform and walk up to them and say, hey, I'm on the show called The Uncle Floyd Show. Have you heard of it? 90% of the time they had. And they would say, gee, how do I get on that show? And we'd tell them. Dave Bird did a lot of the bookings, except during syndication. And he got in touch with a lot of the bands. Jeff Friedman did some booking. When we were in syndication, we actually had a production assistant by the name of Marla Schulman, who did all the booking, along with Joel Gallen and George Back and all the other guys from Producers Showcase was the name of the company. Michael Lepowski says, I always wondered, when the show really took off, did you get a lot of people who wanted to audition or become part of this wonderful part of Jersey history? I never saw any of that. I saw people say to me, how do I get on the show? And I would refer them to the people who actually did the booking. We really didn't have an open casting once the show took off. We did at the beginning, but not later on. From Kevin Dillon. When Floyd spoke to Oogie on the show, he always asked Oogie about his school. So, Oogie was supposed to be a kid. Did Floyd ever say what age Oogie was supposed to be? No, Kevin, we never got specific about it, but my impression of it was he was either in 4th or 5th grade. That was my impression of the questions that he asked and the subjects he was talking about. That's my impression. Floyd never said specifically how old Oogie was. From Tim Ransdell, Spring Lake Heights, New Jersey. One of my favorite episodes was the next to last one on Channel 68. The entire show was Floyd playing requests on the piano. What amazed me was that he dedicated Felicia No Capisce to my brother Jeff and me. I had met him at a show a couple months prior and had asked him to play it. He remembered our first and last names and where we were from. His memory was incredible. That's one thing about Floyd. Tim, he remembered everybody. I have no idea how he did that. I remember faces, but I have a very hard time remembering names. I can walk up to somebody who I know and not remember what their name was. I don't know what that is called. I'm sure there's a psychological name for it. But Floyd was able to recognize everybody. He was a people person. That's the best way to put it. He was really interested in people, and he remembered them. From Charlotte Quinn. My boyfriend, Stephen Gallo, and I were watching a sketch of the Uncle Floyd show that still has us randomly laughing out loud a week later. It was Mr. Grouch's Halloween, where Floyd's son Gregory made an appearance dressed as a Teletubby. Charlotte, that must have been a cut from around Halloween time on Cablevision. On the Cablevision, the very last blast of the comedy show, the cast show, in 1998. I'm pretty sure that's where it was. Please, we must know all the behind-the-scenes details of the sketch, before, during, and after. Why was Gregory crying behind the door? If you've ever been behind a set, it's very strange looking. It doesn't look anything like the front of it. The back is always like just sandbags and brackets holding the walls up. And it's dark back there, too, unless it's lit to be seen from the outside. So I'm sure Gregory was a little upset being back there. Whose hand shoved him onto the set? I'm sure that was his mom. Why did he suddenly stop crying when he looked at the crew? It's a fascination thing. You get out there, all those lights are all of a sudden in your face. There's 3 cameras. There's a bunch of people staring directly at you. And I'm sure just as a kid, he focused on that. Who was the blonde lady holding him? That was his mom. That was Jane. Did Floyd have any of his other kids on the show? I think every one of the kids up to Gregory was on the show. I don't think Massimo or Dante were on the show. Those were his latest 2 kids. I think every one of them was on. I know Christopher was on, Eric was on, and Lauren were on. And Gregory, that takes care of 4 of the 6. Please tell us all you know. No, you don't want to know everything I know, I'm sure. You loved it when Floyd was swinging the little Teletubby as he screams. I'm sure that became a very big memory for Gregory. You would really have to ask him. From Mike Optenacker. Were there skits written and rehearsed that never made it to the final show? Who had final decline, or was it a group decision? I can think of only 1 or 2 things that never ended up on the show. 1 or 2, that's it. Because if it failed, we still used it. We had to pay for the time. The time that was spent on putting the sketch on, if it failed, was still time that we had to pay for, so we used it. The only sketches it didn't get on were ones that were maybe a little too political, or a little bit too odd, or they just went wrong. I mean, really bad wrong, where somebody got hurt or something like that. And even if somebody got hurt, which I've told this story before, I had 3 ribs broken as part of a sketch on take number 3, and take number 5 was used. Just about everything stayed on there. You know, I can't really think of it. And as far as rehearsal, there was no rehearsal. We didn't rehearse. We talked for about half a minute about what the sketch was going to be, the open and the close, how it was going to start, who was going to do what, and the punchline. And everything that happened in the middle of those sketches was all ad lib. That's the way it was. Okay, Mike, thanks for that. And now I'm going to give you something that was on Uncle Floyd on the radio on WFDU. And this was a sketch that we did, Floyd and I did about 19 of these, called New Jersey Newsreel on the Air. And this was one of the ones that we did, and here it goes right now.
This is New Jersey Newsreel on the air, the eyes and ears of the Garden State. From the wide Atlantic Ocean to the mountains of Ramapo, from the pinelands to the meadowlands, and the counties where the rivers flow. Welcome now, each and every one of you, to this edition of your New Jersey Newsreel on the air.
Hopkinton, New Jersey.
This small village in remote Warren County has no statues or names of historical men, which are offensive to the sensitivities of society today. Yet a protest movement here wants images of the jolly green giant removed from the village. Protesters claim it makes giants appear foolish or jolly, and the green color suggests a sickly situation. Other offensive images, such as the purple people eater, little boy blue, the green hornet, Goldilocks and Goldie Hawn, Snow White, Whitey Ford, Charlie Brown, Buster Brown, Pinky Lee, Red Skelton, Long John Silver, Pink Floyd, and they call him Mellow Yellow. All have been equally targeted by protesters for similar reasons. In Hopkinton, New Jersey, a committee has been formed to study the matter.
Sparta, New Jersey.
The last wild mongoose is caught and now in captivity here in rural Sussex County. Discovered near Route 15, it may very well provide important data and research to animalologists and nature's curious students. It appears friendly but does not like to be poked with a long stick. Mongooses were believed to be extinct in the Garden State for more than 50 years until this recent discovery. Dr. Eugene Esophagus of a regional institution believes it traveled here from Lake George, New York, where a group of mongoose are believed to be living in the Adirondack Mountains. The last wild mongoose caught in Sparta, New Jersey, now held in captivity in this Sussex County town.
Laurelton, New Jersey.
Cameras and newspaper reporters are on hand at Phil's gas station as Phil himself gladly hands out the last free gas station paper-folded road map to an elderly woman, Molly Fogg, a retired high school lunch lady. Phil has given away many thousands of these paper-folded road maps, and this is the last one. Studies show only 3% of all drivers under the age of 40 are capable of actually reading and using a paper road map nowadays. Here we see Phil smiling as he hands over the last road map, and Molly Fogg says she will use it when she takes her trip to Blairstown, New Jersey, to attend the upcoming Mint Julep Exposition. Attention, beware, the New Jersey Newsreel will soon be there. The eyes and ears of the Garden State.
Jefferson, New Jersey.
It's the swearing in of a new county judge here as a throng of politicos, lawmakers, civil servants, and family members proudly exclaim their joy and approval for the new judge's appointment. The new judge, a true man of honor and fairness, approaches the podium in his judge's robe. The judge now asks his attendant, "What is the first case on the docket?" And the proceedings begin. But whoa, wait, not before the court clerk announces his arrival. All rise for the Honorable Judge Gilbert T. That's Judge Guilty. Everyone laughs as Judge Guilty bangs his mallet and demands, "Order in the court, order in the court." The first rule of the day from Judge Guilty. You have been listening to New Jersey Newsreel on the air. The eyes and ears of the Garden State, from the wide Atlantic Ocean to the mountains of Ramapo, from the pinelands to the meadowlands, and the counties where the rivers flow. Thank you for listening to this edition of New Jersey Newsreel on the air. This is your announcer speaking.
Okay, now back to questions from Sharon Zarrow in Phoenix, Arizona. I remember coming home to watch the Uncle Floyd show on Cablevision, and the show was so snowy, I would have to fix my rabbit ears to watch it when it was on Channel 68. Yeah, Sharon, I'm a little confused with this question because of the fact if it was on Cablevision and you were watching it on Cablevision, it was on cable. It would not have been snowy. Might have been a little odd because of the transmission from Channel 68 to Cablevision, but you're talking about fixing your rabbit ears. Now, that would make me assume it was coming over the air. So you were watching it on UHF Channel 68 and not on Cablevision. Cablevision, Floyd was on in 74. He was on for a few months, and then we went to Channel 68, or he went to Channel 68. I didn't join until 76. And the next time we were on Cablevision, the Cablevision studios, was 1998. And that would have been perfectly clear. So I don't understand. I graduated high school in 1974, and I was a fan then. Also, Scott, is Wild West City still around? Yes, it is. It's there. When Dad took me there, it was in bad shape. We had a terrible time. My dad asked for his money back. The place was falling apart. Well, it's been updated since then. It's supposed to look a little shabby, like an old western crummy town. That's the way it is. And yes, picture of Floyd Newgie are still hanging there. From Susie Tannenbaum. Floyd made a point of calling his audience member friends rather than fans. Any thoughts on why this distinction was so important to him? Yes, Susie, I know exactly why. Because of the fact the word fan comes from fanatic. And in the Italian language, the word for fanatic has a very negative connotation. It's almost like stalker. That's why Floyd liked to refer to the people as fans. Like I said, he was a people person, like I previously mentioned. Just the way he was. He liked people, and he didn't think he wanted to call them anything negative, and in his mind, the word fan was a negative. From my good buddy Dennis DeLeo. We still have to have pizza, Dennis. How many years did the Uncle Floyd show work with an audience? Just when we were on New Jersey Network. We never really had an audience other than live shows outside of New Jersey Network. That's the only one where we had it, other than Floyd having the little peanut gallery at the beginning on Cablevision out of Oakland. I know that I love working in front of an audience. We all do. We love working in front of an audience. He feels it enhances your timing and you can feed your adrenaline. How about you? That's the thing. One of the reasons why it's called acting. We performed in front of audiences so much. By the time I started working with Floyd, I've been working in front of an audience from about 1965 to 1976. That's, 20 years? 20 years in front of an audience where I was doing music and magic and stuff like that. And I knew how an audience would respond to things, so I had the timing. And Floyd had the timing as well, working in front of audiences at Gaslight Village and in the clubs with Doc Prentice and playing piano, and working in the carnivals and the circuses with Mario Manzini. I know that you guys performed at many venues, but when you were taping a show, how did the audience affect your performance? Well, they helped. They did help. We had some timing things that weren't exactly right without the audience, but sometimes the audience didn't react where we thought they would. From Jeff Clementi. This has to do with Muggsy. I visited his website the other day and saw some nice clips of him performing, many courtesy of you, but I also read his obituary, which was posted on the site. It said he had a son named Hugo. Do you know if Hugo the puppet was named after Muggsy's son, or was it the other way around? Well, Jeff, this got us in a lot of trouble. It was at Muggsy's wake. It wasn't really a wake, it was a memorial thing. Muggsy had been cremated, and we just got together to have a public thing to thank Muggsy and for the fans, or friends, as Floyd liked to call them. A reporter from the Bergen Record was there who wanted to write a nice obituary for Muggsy. And he asked a bunch of questions, and we answered the questions for him. And he said, so did he have any heirs? Dave Bird says, yeah, he had a son, Hugo. We knew that this was not right. Hugo was just a puppet. Muggsy had no progeny, none whatsoever. The reporter went, oh, yeah, and he wrote it down. And we left it alone. We knew Muggsy would have loved the fact that we played with the press. Well, we got such hell from this reporter when he found out there was no such Hugo and it was printed already. How dare you lie to a reporter? Blah, 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 blah. It was a riot. We had a lot of fun with that. Jeff also says, a couple of podcasts ago, you mentioned that you enjoyed doing bizarre magic. Could you explain what that is and how you learned it? Yeah, I can do that. Bizarre magic is using the art form of prestidigitation, or what's known as mystery arts, and doing things that are odd, strange, and weird, such as a geek thing. I used to do a thing that I referred to as Polish sword swallowing, where I had a little metal cocktail sword in a box, and I'd take it out. I'd have somebody touch it and feel it and see that it was solid. I'd wipe it off with an alcohol swab, take it, and stick it in my nostril, much like what was known as the blockhead, where someone would hammer a nail into their nostril and go all the way in. And I'd take this sword, which is about 3.5 inches long, and stick it all the way in my nose. I'd then take it out and hand it to them, and I say, would you like to check it again? After it had been in my nose up to the hilt. And this is not a gag, it was actually in my nose. That, and I performed things where I actually did one on Intellectual Digress, where I showed acupuncture, where I used a needle and stuck it in my arm and bled all over the place. That was a total illusion. I did not stick a needle into my arm, even though it looked like it. And I have shown that on the Tuesday night at 8. We have a date. This was the Uncle Floyd Show on Stage It. Every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, I show clips of the show, and we talk about them and discuss the specific clips. And you can get there by going to theunclefloydshow.tv. That's theunclefloydshow.tv. Takes you right to where this show is. It costs $5 to watch it, but what that does is it covers the cost of doing those shows and doing this podcast. This is not cheap to do this. It doesn't come out of anybody's pocket other than mine unless you guys help. And that's one of the things that keeps us going. So if you got a chance, come on a Tuesday night at theunclefloydshow.tv at 8 p.m. Eastern and watch it. How did I learn it? Okay, I learned bizarre magic from a guy by the name of Tony Raven. His real name was Bob Lynn. He operated under the name of Tony Raven, performed. And he had a magazine called Invocation, which was the basis of bizarre magic. And he wasn't the first one to do it. Geek stuff been done for years. Other strange things. And I've actually done seances where we have things happening. I've done fake witchcraft circles and things like that. That's all performance. It's all performance from bizarre magic. I hope if you get a chance to see somebody, there are performers out there who do this kind of thing. Notable one is Evil Dan up in Massachusetts. He does a lot of great stuff. And if you get a chance to see him, he comes around and performs every once in a while. From Anthony LaSalle, formerly of Union, New Jersey. Did Uncle Floyd like playing the old vaudeville theaters? Oh, we love those places. You go backstage in one of those places where they have the high loft, and you can climb up and look at all sorts of stuff in there, the old dressing rooms, and sometimes there were signs on the wall, and you could go underneath the stage where the storage was. I can remember seeing one of your live shows at the Ritz Theater in Elizabeth. Uncle Floyd came on stage to do his Cowboy Charlie bit, and my wife said, wow, that guy has some really big ears. He says he couldn't stop laughing. The Ritz Theater in Elizabeth, that's probably one of the most painful experiences of my life and the worst injury I ever got doing the Uncle Floyd Show. We used to do a thing where I would come out and do a fight with the Invisible Man, where I would stage a fight with myself, where I was getting hit and punching and things like that. And in the Ritz Theater, they had a 10-foot deep orchestra pit in front of the stage. I went down there and I set up a bunch of mattresses with some wood blocks with tin cans on them in such a way that when somebody hit the mattress, it would throw the tin cans up in the air. I thought it would be hysterical for the show. So I set it up down there, I had everything all ready to go. Did the fight with the Invisible Man, and then dove off the stage. And as I dove off the stage, I looked down. Someone had moved my mattresses and stacked folding chairs. And once you're on your way down, you have no choice. You're going to hit. So I hit a bunch of metal folding chairs instead of a mattress. I had a ladder set up that I was going to climb back up on the stage, which that was moved too. So I had to run underneath the stage, around back to come up and deliver the punchline, which is Floyd says to me, "What the heck were you doing?" And I say, "I was having a fight with the Invisible Man." I remember the Ritz Theater really well. And from Stephen Gallo, "It was always great to see well-known guests appear who could appreciate the greatness of the Uncle Floyd Show. I was wondering, though, and you don't have to name names if you don't want to, if any celebrity who appeared on the show was for some reason not the most pleasant person to deal with, and why." Well, obviously, the Uncle Floyd Show, when you walked in, if the person was familiar with television production and the way things worked at the networks or a larger station, and then walked into NJN, which was pretty close, or Channel 68, or any of the CTN stations, they would see something that looked like, shall we say, the back room of an old, decrepit store. They would come in there and they would see that, and they'd had no idea what was going on. They'd say, "What is this? What am I doing here? Why isn't this like anything else I've ever done?" They'd be a little on edge, but we were always great with them. We'd talk to them nice and we'd get them into it, to the point where the guys from Monty Python, it was Graham Chapman and Terry Gilliam, came to see us during syndication. And they came in and we were talking, and Graham Chapman said to me, "You guys work like this? How many shows do you do?" I said, "Well, we do about 260 shows a year." And his eyes bugged out of his head, and he said, 200, we do 10 shows a year, and it takes us 8 months to do it. You do 260 shows a year? Another quick thing here from Stephen Gallo. Were there any celebrities slated to appear, but for some reason or another things just didn't work out as planned and they didn't make it on the show after all? Well, sometimes people were late. Sometimes people couldn't make it. There were cross things that they couldn't do. But one story is Ricky Nelson was supposed to appear on the show. And he was scheduled to appear, going to come on. He was all ready to do it. He knew about the show. He knew what we did. And on his way from the West Coast to the East Coast, he died in a plane crash. And that is probably the most unbelievable thing that I can think of. Is here's a guy who was coming out to the East Coast to do some work in New York and then come and visit us because he wanted to visit us. And I think about him every time I hear any of his songs on the oldies radio stations or the oldies Sirius XM, which I have in my car. And I think how great it would have been to meet him. You know, that's the way life is sometimes. Sometimes it takes it. Enjoy yourself, guys. Have fun with whatever you do. You never know when it's going to catch up with you. That's all I have to say. Leaving that, this has been number 75. And again, if you want to get a question in, just email it into ufpodcast@sge-inc.com. That's ufpodcast@sge-inc.com. And I'll answer it like I've done here. And if you want to stop by every Tuesday night at 8, we have a date at This Was the Uncle Floyd Show. Again, it costs $5, but, you know, what the heck. It helps us keep this going. It helps us keep that going, where I can show clips of the old show and talk to you guys about the clips. That's at theunclefloydshow.tv, theunclefloydshow.tv. We'll be back again next week, and as Floyd always said, the most important thing to any show is you guys, the audience. Without you, this wouldn't happen. Without your help, without you sending in questions, without you visiting Tuesday night at 8, this was the Uncle Floyd Show. This wouldn't happen. So I thank you for allowing me to be able to do this. And Floyd was always so pleased every time that we got together and talked about this, and I told him how nice your comments were. He was so touched that you remembered, and you still like the stuff, and it still made you laugh. I'm now going to play a song by Floyd. This was from one of his recordings. It was a private recording that was made and given out at a celebration of a local celebrity. He made several of these. And when the person was of Italian extraction or an Italian celebration of some sort, he would include this song. It includes some, shall we say, Italian epithets that are not too polite. And Dennis DeLeo, you asked for this one. You asked me to play it, so I'm going to play it now. It's called I'm a Cavone. And I'll see you next week. I'm Scott Gordon. Have a great time.
I'm a Cavone and I don't care. I'm a Cavone and I don't care. I'm a Cavone and I don't care. And that's the way it goes. She's a Bhutan and she don't care. She's a Bhutan and she don't care. She's a Bhutan and she don't care. And that's the way it goes. He's a Stroons and he don't care. He's a Stroons and he don't care. He's a Stroons and he don't care. And that's the way it goes. You're a Gabaragats and you don't care. You're a Gabaragats and you don't care. A Gabaragats and you don't care. And that's the way it goes. I sono Gafune, tu si pazz. I sono Gafune, tu si pazz. Sono Gafune, tu si pazz. And that's the way it goes. E sono Bhutan tu si pazz. E sono Bhutan tu si pazz. E sono Bhutan tu si pazz. And that's the way it goes. Id uno strunze tu si pazz, id uno strunze tu si pazz, id uno strunze tu si pazz, e che me non porta. You're a Gabaragats and I don't care, a Gabaragats and I don't care, a Gabaragats and I don't care, and that's the way it goes. You're my Goomba and I do care. You're my Goomba and I do care. You're my Goomba and I do care because I'm a love of you.
This program was produced in the studios of Scott Gordon Enterprises, Incorporated in Paramus, New Jersey.